starting. All right, well, you can exit and come back. We got a minute. Oh, it's getting a yellow start now, but go ahead and fix your end. Live, yeah. Okay, well, let's just see what happens. Yeah, well, I have no idea what's happening, but let's just...
Close out and try it one more time.
let's just go with it. Okay.
I can't hear you or see you.
You can't hear us? Go ahead and try again. I'll wait for you.
All right.
Okay. All right. Welcome PJNET Live with Del Duduit, who you see right now, hopefully, or possibly, as a question mark on your screen. You know, last night we were having, or we weren't. No, we weren't. YouTube was having some problems last night, and it seems as if these problems persist because we're having trouble live streaming. Now, it could be as a result of the new software, but it may be, in fact, something else. I don't know. But nonetheless, I am showing Del Duduit here, and he was saying earlier he was having a hard time hearing me and or seeing me. I don't know if he can hear me now or not. Can you hear me, Del?
I can hear you. You're a little jarbled, but I can hear you.
Okay. According to YouTube, we have a bad network connection. But anyway, let's just go with it and hope for the best. Your blog kind of struck me in a different kind of way today because I know that there are stories of chance encounters, and the one that came to my mind is people who are discovered on YouTube. Justin Bieber, who's no hero of mine, but nonetheless, he was kind of a nobody, and then he was suddenly discovered and catapulted to fame and fortune. That kind of story can be told over and over again, but your blog today told the story of a different kind of chance encounter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Michael Lorenzen, who's a pitcher for the Reds, very popular athlete, and fans love him. Really one of those guys that just plays hard, and fans appreciate that. They appreciate the effort. He takes time to sign autographs. He takes time to get pictures with people, and he's been known to pray with fans in the past. So I'd heard about his story. Not really his story. I just knew that he, when he's introduced, he likes to have gospel songs played when he's going up to bat, and he's a pitcher, so he doesn't bat that often. Even though there's talk about him playing in the outfield this year. Big guy, very physically fit gentleman. Really in shape. But so I approached him down there for a game and said, "Hey, can you share your story of faith with me?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Would love to." And so he told me about the time that he was a very popular high school athlete, superstar kind of player. Scouts all over the place looking after him. He's going to be drafted. So he was very popular, but he didn't have a good home life. He said he didn't have a church influence, didn't have any role models in his life. So he does what a lot of kids do, and he turned to alcohol and drugs. And so he said he and his buddies were at Huntington Beach Pier one night, high on marijuana and smoking and drinking and having a good time in their eyes. And he said they noticed this gentleman on the pier preaching, and we're making fun of him, I have a similar experience with that. I did make fun of this guy. There was a guy up at our campus all the time would preach out on campus, and students would sit around and make fun of him and yell at him and cuss at him and stuff like that. So anyway, Michael and his friends started making fun of this guy and razzing him, giving him a hard time. And he told Michael, he says, the only way to get to heaven is through the blood of Christ. And he said they kept making fun of him, and then Michael just said that when he went home, he just kept hearing his words over and over and over, and he couldn't get away from it. And that had a big impact on him. And that he eventually, he said that weekend, he called his brother and said, I have to go to church. We have to go to church, Sunday. And so they went, and Michael got saved. And then he said he went back to try to find this man. Has never seen him before or since that evening in Huntington Beach, California.
He tried to hunt him down.
Yeah, he went to try to find him, and he said he couldn't find him and never seen him before or after. He wanted to thank him, and he doesn't know his name, has no idea who he is, or who he was. So,
and I wonder if that man knows that he brought this, this guy to the Lord. I don't know. He could be watching baseball.
And Michael's very adamant now about his faith. He's very bold about it. Will not back down about it, and will share his story. He says he owes it to people now to share his story because some man he didn't know shared his story, so he feels obligated to do that. So, very moving story, very touching story. He told me some others, but that was the one that kind of stood out.
Well, so often, in our small group Bible studies, we talk about how can we share Christ, and they make it. We try to make it sound like it's some procedure, some step-by-step thing you do, approach people. And I guess that can be done. But you know what, Del? How many chance encounters do we have with other individuals? Just little things you can do. If you're at the convenience store buying gas, or if you're inside buying a pack of cigarettes. Maybe the person behind you is just getting a cup of coffee. You could buy the cup of coffee for the person behind you. I like doing that. It's a cheap thrill for $1.50.
It is.
And I think the takeaway I got, what kind of convicted me spiritually about your blog today, is to be that chance encounter person. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's as hard as we make it sound. I think we make it sound hard because it serves as a convenient excuse why we can't do it.
Oh, yeah. People find every reason not to sometimes, but there are little things you can do, and that's what he's featured in Chapter 9 of my book, Dugout Devotions. That story is. And I give little ways that you can, be that angel that's encountered, and you can be that one who's entertained, and you can be the one who entertains as well. You can just do little things. You can have a sign on your email, blessings or something like that, or you can make sure people know if you have an office. I don't have an office. If you have an office at work, that you keep your Bible on it, or something of a spiritual notion. You don't have to be a in your face kind of person. Like out in restaurants, you can pray over your meal. That people notice those things, and they may lend to a discussion. Or you can, just do little things like that. So.
I'm getting tickled because I'm a driver. I'm a commercial driver. I deliver stuff. I'm a courier. Yeah. And so I'm out on the road a lot. I see a lot of things, and sometimes I see people speeding and cutting in front of me, and I see that Christian moniker.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, dude, if you're gonna wear the fish, you need to be a little bit better testimony than that.
Yeah.
I in our small group Bible studies and in just conversations among Christians, we say, it's hard for me to do that because, I don't know enough. I don't have enough training, or they'll say I don't have. And we were literally in Bible study, and we were enumerating on the whiteboard, why do we fail to share our faith? And these are the type of excuses that kept coming up. I need better training. I'm not familiar enough. I'm afraid I'll get asked a question I can't answer. And I was biting my tongue, just holding it back. And finally, after the answers kind of slowed down a little bit, because I was about to puke, I said, here, erase all that, and I'll put the real answer up there. And I put FEAR. We are afraid. And Zig Ziglar has a lot to say about fear, you know, and most of the things that we are afraid of simply never happen. In fact, it's been said that 90% of the things we worry about never happen.
Right.
And when that was pointed out to me by the pastor, I replied, in other words, worry is 90% effective. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah, you touched on fear, and I think a lot of it is fear of some of them not knowing how to say it. I think a lot of it's fear of the reaction they're going to get from folks.
Yeah.
If they're sitting around a bunch of guys who aren't, and they make a comment, they may be afraid they're going to be made fun of or be poked at or something like that.
Ridiculed. Well, very much like the story you told in your blog. They were ridiculing this guy.
Yeah, they were. They were making fun of him, and that's the experience I had. No, I didn't do it, but I remember then I was dating my wife when we were both students up at Ohio University, and my wife was as good as gold, and she didn't do anything wrong. But Ohio University has a reputation as a pretty major party school, so we were sitting there, we were listening to him, and he was saying some things that were pretty decent. Then he kind of got wacky on us, but. Like this guy's wife was there, and she walked up to Angie and pointed in her face, and she said, "And what are you doing out at the bars late at night?" And I thought,
drinking,
lady, you don't know what you're. I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, she doesn't go out at night and at the bars at night. She doesn't do that. So you know, they were already condemning people. So they kind of egged on or invited some of the ridicule that they received. Mm-hmm. So I've seen that firsthand, but you know, I don't know. I wasn't there in California, but Michael just said he was high on dope and drink, and they just started making fun of this guy. Yeah, but he couldn't get away from the words that he heard.
God had an impact through a guy that he never saw. That's great. Great story.
Yeah.
Folks, we're talking about a blog that is found at deldidway.com. Let me help you spell that. D-E-L. And then Didway is spelled D-U-D-U-I-T.com. And every Tuesday, Del comes out with a new blog entry and continually keeps raising the bar over and over and over. Del is the author of a newly published book, Dugout Devotions, released, a week ago? How's it going, Del?
It went. It's been 8 days, and it's officially released 8 days. It's going really well. It's in. You can find it at the Barnes and Noble stores. I was in a Books A Million store today in Huntington, West Virginia, and saw it on the shelves. It's very exciting. And of course, they can order from New Hope Publishers, or they can go on Amazon. So, and even Barnes and Noble and Books A Million has links as well. So they can get it. Sales are going really well, actually. I think with baseball season out, you know, it's good timing. And there's a lot of interest in it. So we're meeting tomorrow with a couple of high school coaches about getting the books for their players.
Del, I am such a baseball fan that I can't wait for the World Series, because that signals the end. And who am I for? I can tell you right now who I'm for in the World Series. Whoever is ahead.
Yes, because you just want it over with, right?
I want it over with.
We've got 6 or 8 months to go. We got to October. So
yeah, it's a little bit better than the golf they put on between football and baseball. That's about all I can say.
Yeah, I know. So,
Dale, I have a certain amount of respect for all athletes. I don't like the game, to be honest, but I tell you what, I do have respect for athletes who condition themselves and train themselves and discipline themselves, even if it's not a sport that I care for. I was on a cruise ship one time, and I don't care for theater. But these dancers are in incredibly athletic shape. They are muscled up.
Yeah. Well, you figure they got something this big around coming out them from 60 feet at about 100 miles an hour, and it's moving. And they got to try to hit it. I mean, it's a very difficult sport.
Well, and think about the physics of it. You're gonna win me over. Think about the physics of it. I'm a scientist. Mm-hmm. You've got a ball, a sphere. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have an edge that lends itself to hitting it squarely, and you're trying to hit it with something that's a tube. So you've got two basically circles trying to intersect exactly on axis. Mm-hmm. That's hard to do, brother.
Especially when it's moving.
Yeah, that's hard to do. That's hard to do at any speed. Okay.
And they have about less than a second to react to that, and they got to pick up the ball, and most of these players can figure out what type of pitch it is, where it's going to be moving to. So they got to pick that up within a split second. And some players can take it where they want it. Some people, players miss it. But it's an incredibly difficult sport to do well. It looks easy.
At golf, you're swinging at a stationary target, and that's not easy.
Yeah.
So I'll give them a little bit here. I'll give credit where credit's due.
Golf's one of the hardest sports to play well. It really is. It's anybody can play it, but to play it well is because they play all their foul balls, whereas baseball players don't. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Dale, book's going well. Glad to hear that. Now, you've got another book coming. You've got book after book after book. I can't wait for First Down Devotion.
Yeah, that'll be out August 5th, and we just found out this week that, and I didn't know this, my book about the Cincinnati Bengals was going to be out Friday. I didn't. It's with a different publisher. So it's called Bengal Believer, and so we're going to try to mix that in where we can, and but we're focusing on the Dugout Devotion launch and then the First Down Devotion launch. But Bengal Believer will be out Friday, so they're coming from everywhere right now. And
are these books? I did get to read some of the chapters of First Down Devotions. Are these books going to be in the same style that would be suitable for a group Bible study, a small group?
Oh yeah, just like my first book, Buckeye Believer, which actually was nominated for a very prestigious award this week, and I didn't realize that, but it was nominated for the CELA Awards, which is kind of like the Christian Writers World of the Oscars. It's a big deal. So Buckeye Believer was nominated for a CELA Award in May. I'll be going down to North Carolina, and we'll see if I get it or not. But great authors, all the great authors involved. But yeah, it's suitable. It's meant for something like that because they're quick hits, they're short, 800 words. And they tie in some lesson based on a sporting event or a sporting play or a moment or a player. And the Bengals Believer is the same way. He deals with the Cincinnati Bengals history, great plays, and not too many great plays, but great moments in Bengals history, and relive it and teach a life lesson from it.
Wow. Well, Dale, I'm proud of you, and we wish you the very best. I mean, your career is just catapulting, and yet I tell you what I like about Dale, folks, is Dale, in spite of the achievements and the blessings that have come his way, has kept his feet on the ground. He's a hard worker, I'll tell you that. But more importantly, he's an approachable, conversational guy. And, it's easy to get lost and caught up into that stuff and lose track of where he came from.
Well, that's something I've learned. In fact, I was asked that today. I was doing a podcast today over lunch about the book, and somebody asked me, what I learned through all this process. And I said, these athletes who are stars, they're stars. They get a lot of money for playing baseball and football, but a lot of them, the same theme is that their biggest worry, or the biggest stumbling block is identity. That they don't look at them. They cannot look at themselves as these elite people that the fans want to get their picture with, autographs with, and so things like that. So they have to stay grounded. And I'm nowhere near that. I'll never be like that. But I'll talk to anybody. I've learned lessons that I reached out to people 3 years ago who helped me. And I was in a writer's group tonight, actually. We were meeting right before this down in our public library. And a girl said, "How do you get started?" And so I said, "Well, here's what you do." I gave her the same message I was given. And so I'm always going to remember that and remain that, I'm really just I'm a guy like you and me, and I'm just a normal person trying to do something. So I'm not going to get caught up in, hey, I've sold a gazillion books, so I've won all these awards. Those are nice, but and I hope I do win. But and I hope it's a bestseller. But I'm always going to be. I'll talk to anybody, and I'll remain grounded and not get lost in identity. So that's what all these players have taught me.
Dale, we've never talked about this. I know that you've detailed and chronicled, how your career kind of catapulted from that writers conference in Orlando. But you know, there's agents and publishers and all this kind of stuff. But is there somebody? Are you a self-starter, or is there somebody in your life that's always been kind of a mentor pushing you forward?
But I've never had a mentor, so to speak. My wife pushed me. She was the one who really encouraged me to start blogging and start this process. And so she's always kind of been there to support me. And it was her idea for me to start blogging, because I really resisted it for a while. I thought, I don't want to blog, it's silly. And then so she kind of pushed me to that. She designed my website and everything like that. So, but I've never had a mentor, so to speak, as far as that went out. But you know, I reached out to a couple of folks I didn't know, and I you know, and then they reached out, they responded. Now we've developed this really special friendship that some of these writers that I've met, we're in this little group now. We help each other, we support each other, and we travel to conferences together now. We're going to New York together. So 2 years has really been a whirlwind, but it all came down to a friend that I didn't know responded to a question: how do I get involved in writing? And she responded, and she's a very prolific, accomplished Christian children's author, and now we're like best friends. And yeah, and, you know, we meet, her husband and me and my wife will meet at a Reds game, or you know, we're going to New York together, and we're doing so, and we're writing a book together now. So it all just stemmed from me reaching out to somebody.
Well, Del, I've noticed, you know, in a lot of the pictures and stories you tell, you know, your wife is actively there. And, you know, it's been said, you know, behind every good man is what?
A stronger woman.
Oh, I thought it was a surprise mother-in-law. But anyway.
Yeah, really. Yeah, no. So, and, you know, she has a lot going on, too, and I try to support her when we can. So, you know, we're in it together. She does all my first edits, makes a lot of suggestions, and I take most of them. Sometimes I don't. So I'm getting ready to put out a piece Thursday in our paper that's going to be kind of hard hitting. It's she's afraid I'm going to get a lot of feedback, but that's okay.
All right. Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time. So
I'll send it to you.
I can't wait. All right. Well, Dale, thank you for sharing with us tonight. We can't wait to hear what you'll have for us next week, right here on Renew US on PJNet Live. Okay, let me kind of listen in. I think it actually turned out better than we thought. But I'm just kind of monitoring it. It's several seconds behind us. Well, they switched out of it. All right. All right, hang on a minute. Let me shut things